All right, so you're welcome back to this second video, this section. Now, here we'll be generalizing things a bit, where you want to consider the graph of this form, where the A, which is the amplitude, is not necessarily equals to 1, and also the K is not necessarily equals to 1. Here, this is for any K greater than 0. So in that case, our amplitude is still going to be the absolute value of A, but the period is no longer 2 pi, but the period is now 2 pi over k. And we can define formula for amplitude, or we can always find amplitude using this formula, where m is the maximum value, small m is the minimum value, and we divide by 2. So we'll just go straight into the graphs. Let's take example 3. Now for example 3, okay, how to graph this one. Okay. So the first thing for this is that what's the amplitude is nothing but just the absolute value of 2, which is equals to 2. And the period is 2 pi over what's over k. So in this case, what is k? You can see this is just 2 pi over k is 1 over 3. Because this is our k. Remember, we're dealing with the form of a sine kx, right? So it means the period is just going to be 6 pi, right? So we've answered the amplitude and the period. Now, to sketch this, what do? We just deal with, we're interested in just one period is fine, unless it is stated, but once it's not stated, just do one period and that should be enough. Okay, so now we're going to concentrate from where? From 0 to 6 pi. Okay, now, so how do we divide this interval into what? Into 4. We need to divide this interval into 4. We have 2 ways. The first way is that what? You add 0 and 6 pi. 0 plus 6 pi is 6 pi. So divide 6 pi by 2 to give you 3 pi, which will be the midpoint, the center, right? Then find the center between 3 pi and 6 pi. How do you get that? 3 pi plus 6 pi is 9 pi. 9 pi divided by 2. So you just leave it as 9 pi divided by 2. And then find the center between 0 and 3 pi, which will be 0 plus 3 pi divided by 2, which is 3 pi over 2. Okay, so we're done. This is one way. I will use the second method for the next question. How to divide this into interval. Now for the A, so it means the highest you can go is 2, and the lowest we can go is what? Is minus 2. And now we're fine. So we just need to plot our points. Okay, how do we plot our point? This is the graph of sine. So always start from where? 0, 0. Then as you go to the right, you go to the highest point, which is the 2 in this case. Then as you keep going to the right, you have to come back to the baseline. And as you move to the next point, you will come back to the lowest, which is minus 2. And then as you move to the right, you have to go back to the baseline. So this will just be something like this one. Yeah, just make it more nicer. Okay. All right. And we're done. So this is the graph of what's of sine not just sine, but 2 sine 1 over 3 x. This is one period of it. It's okay, good enough. All right. Now, let's go to the next question. The next question is still sine, but now we have minus, right? So since we have minus, what do we do? Let's first of all write our amplitude. What is the amplitude here? Here. All right. So for number 2, for B, we will do similarly. We need to find what is our amplitude in this case. Just going to be absolute value of minus half, which is just half. Then the period is still 2 pi over k. But now what is k? K is 2 pi in this case. As you can see, this is our k here, k, and this is a. So, and this will give us what? 2. Now, the same way we did, we just need to focus from 0 to, this is 1. 2 pi divided by 2 pi is 1. So we need to focus from 0 to what? From 0 to 1. So the first thing is we split this interval into 4. Now here in the question A, I used the method of the midpoint to find the interval. Now another method we can use to find this 4 interval, it's simply, since this is the period, what is our period here? 1. So you divide this 1 by 4, which will become a quarter, right? So you keep adding a quarter to the first point, which is 0. If I add a quarter to 0, it's going to be a quarter, 1/4. Now, if you add 1/4, this same 1/4, add it to this 1/4, you will have 1/4 plus 1/4 will give you 2 over 4, which is just 1 over 2, right? Now, add 1/4 again. You add 1/4 again, plus half. This is going to be 1/4 plus what? Plus 2. Yes, so you multiply by this. So this is 2 over 4. So you have 1 over 4 plus 2 over 4. This will be 3 over 4, right? And then if you add 1/4 again to 3 over 4, you will end up having 1. So this is another method of finding the interval. So now you see you have 4 intervals. The first interval, the second interval, the third interval, and the fourth interval. Okay. All right. So what next can we do? We look at the maximum value. What is the maximum value? We can go as high as half, that is the amplitude, and we can go as low as minus half, right? So let's try to join the points now. This is still sine graph, so we'll start from 0, 0, right? Now, another interesting thing is that you can see that here there is a minus. So usually when we start from 0, 0 and we go from left to right, we're supposed to go to the highest value, which is half. But now because of that minus, just go to the lowest value, which is minus 1. And then you continue the same pattern. If you go to the right, now you have to come back to the baseline, 0, 0. Then you go again. Now you have to go to the highest, which is 1. And then you come back here. So this graph will just be something like this. Okay. Now, this one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is forget about the minus. Just sketch the graph without minus. Then you reflect it across the x-axis. Okay. But so let me explain this again. Just one more time. Look at it. We start from where 0, 0. But remember, this is the graph of sine. When you start from 0, 0 and you are going to the right, by the time you get to the next point, we're supposed to go to the maximum point. the y value, which is what? Half. But because of this negative here, that is why instead of going to the maximum, you go down to the what? Minimum. Instead of going up to the maximum, go down to the minimum. Then as you go to the right, now you come back to your baseline. Then as you go again, then you go to 1/2. Then you can come back here. So this will give us what? This will give us a shape like this. So this is the graph of minus half sine 2 pi of x. All right, now number C. For number C, you can see we have absolute value. So don't worry about the absolute value, just deal with what is inside. So we already saw this graph earlier. So here, our amplitude is A is 1. So our amplitude has not changed. It's just going to be 1. And the period, in this case, you can see the period is just going to be 2 pi over k because k is 1, which is 2 pi. So deal with what is inside. Forget about the absolute value. So in other words, we are just dealing with the graph of sine x, which we saw earlier. So this is going to be the same shape from 0 to 2 pi. Now you divide this into 4. Now, let me use the same method I did here. How do you get that? For interval, divide your period divided by 4. If you divide 2 pi by 4, we'll get what? We'll get pi over 2, right? So add pi over 2 to 0, you will get the next point. Add pi over 2 again to it. Pi over 2 plus pi over 2 becomes pi. Pi plus pi over 2, this will give you 3 pi over 2. So we're done. We have 4 intervals now. And then you know that this is 1 and this is minus 1. And then we go with our points. This is going to be 0, 0, 1 down here. And then we go this and then here. So this is what we saw earlier, just one period of the graph of sine. And we are here. So now, because of the absolute value, you have to reflect everything that is what? Below the x-axis, you reflect it across the x-axis. So this point, you're just going to reflect this part. So it's going to be something like this. You see? So since this is minus 1, this also should not exceed 1. Do like this. 4. So what means is that you have to remove the what? You have to remove all of this part that is below. So this is still here. And now that is the graph. So let me use another. So this is the reflected part. So now let's talk about cosine graph. So it's the same thing. For cosine graph, let's go with the amplitude here. The amplitude is still the same, which is absolute value of minus 2, which is going to be 2. And the period is 2 pi over k, so which is 2 pi over what? So 2 pi over pi, right? Which is just 2, because here this is your a, and this is our k. Now we will just have our interval. Now we deal from 0 to 2, right? So from 0 to 2, we split it into 4. How can you do that? You can just take the midpoint here, which is just going to be 1. And the midpoint between 0 and 1 is going to be half. And the midpoint here is going to be 3 over what? Over 2, right? Okay, so what is the maximum we can go is what is going to be 2, right? And the minimum we can go is also minus 2. So from 0 to 0, this is the graph of cosine. The graph of cosine, usually we start from where? We start from the highest, right? But because of this minus now, you don't have to start from the highest, just start from the lowest. At 0, instead of starting from 2, go and start from where? We start from minus 2 because of the reflection across the x-axis. Then the next one, you now go to the baseline. Then when you go, remember we're going to the right, we're going this way. So now we have to go to the maximum. Then we have to come down here. Then finally we are back to the minimum value. So it's going to be like this, and then like this. So this is the graph of minus 2 cosine phi of x. So this is doing it directly. You don't have to do reflection across the x-axis at the end. Just incorporate that into the plotting of your point. So instead of starting from the maximum value, start from the minimum value because of the minus there. All right. So for the B is, how do we go for the B? The same story here. Our amplitude is still the same way we find it, absolute value of A. So absolute value of half, 1 over 2. This is going to be 1 over 2. And our period here is 2 pi over 2, because this is K. And this is what? This is 1. So we have to sketch from 0 to 1. From 0 to 1, right? Now we have to divide this interval into 4, right? Dividing this interval to 4, what does that mean? What it means is you divide this interval, this is going to be half, right? Now this is half, and this will be 1 over 4, and this will become 3 over 4. So the same way we did, we have talked about 2 methods for doing that already. So here is going to be half, and the minimum is going to be also minus half. All right, so this is the graph of cosine. So the graph of cosine, we don't start from the origin, right? At 0, 0, where is it going to be? At 0, 0, we have to start from the highest. So in this case, we're going to start from the highest because there is no minus behind it. Then we will come down here. Then we will check this one. Then we will have this one here. And now you go to the highest. So this is this. Something like this. All right. Now you can always check, after plotting your graph, you can always check to see if your graph is correct or not. For example, now let's just test one value. This is half. Remember, what is your y? You can say your f of x, or you call it your y. Your f of x is what? Is half cosine of 2x, right? Now let's find f of half. means you substitute x to be half, right? So this will be 2 times what? 1 over 2. And this is going to be half cosine of what? Now remember, we're substituting x equals to what? X equals to, x is equals to half, right? So you have 2 times this, and equals to half. So what are we going to get? We just want to see if the value, okay, now you can see that there is a problem because here you have cosine, this is cosine 1. And now this one is cosine 1, you don't know what is cosine 1. So it means you're not going to get, because at x equals to half, we're supposed to get what? We're supposed to get minus half. So it means that there is something wrong. You see the importance of testing point, right? So now you can see if you check to, if you go back now, you will discover that there is a problem right from where? Right from the period. Because the period is 2 pi over 2. And 2 pi over 2 should give us what? Should give us a pi, right? 2 pi over 2 should give us a pi. So it means that there is, so now this is also important. Anytime you sketch the graph, try to take 1 or 2 points just to see if what your points are correct. So what it means is that the period is from 0 to where? To pi. So this is what it should be. Because you have 2 pi divided by 2, and I used 1, which is wrong, right? So this can happen. So here you split this. This is going to be what? Pi over what? Over 2, right? So if you split to be pi over 2 now, what is the next? The next thing here is you find the interval here. The midpoint is going to be 0 plus this. So this is going to be pi over 4, right? And then you add this. This is pi plus pi over 2 plus pi divided by 2, right? So you have pi over 2 plus pi, which you can write as 2 pi over 2, right? So this is going to give you 3 pi over 2, but divide this by 2 again. So this will become 3 pi over what? Over 4. So these are the 4 points we will use. And then this, every other thing will remain the same, just as we did earlier. So let's discuss this now. Okay. Let's do this. So here at 0, you will start from where? We'll start from half. Then as you go to the right, you will come down here. As you go to the right, you back to the minimum. As you go to the right, you back to your baseline. As you go to the right, you're back to the maximum. So remember, this is the graph of cosine. So we'll have something like this one. You see? So now let's do the same testing. You see? Now, if your function f of x is what is half cosine of 2x, we can always test. We can find f of any of the value. So for example, you take pi over 2. So this is going to be half cosine of 2 times what? Pi over 2, right? And this is nothing but half cosine of what? 2 will cancel 2, so you have cosine of pi, right? But what is cosine of pi? We know it is minus 1. So you have 1 over 2. So you have f of pi over 2 is what? Is minus half. And this makes sense because at pi over 2, this is the value of y. Or y. So this is how to test points, which is very important, so that to check because there could be a mistake, right? Forward. Now, for the C, is going to be similar situation. We just need to focus on what is inside here. So it means we're going to focus on the graph of what's 3 cosine 2x over k. So we'll first of all graph this one. So our amplitude is going to be absolute value of 3, which is 3. And the period is going to be 2 pi by what's by k, which is just 2 pi over what's 2 pi over 3. So this is 2 over 3, right? So because this is our k. And what do we have here? This is nothing but what? 3 pi, right? Okay, so let's deal with this one first. So this will be something like this. So we go from 0 to 3 pi. From 0 to 3 pi now, you can divide it, or you can divide by what? If you divide this by 4 and you keep what? You keep adding it, right? So here, the middle here is going to be 3 pi over what? 3 pi over 4, because you have, this will be 3 pi divided by 2, right? Yes, because you add 3 pi plus 0 is 3 pi. You divide by 2, you have 3 pi by 2. Now here will be, the middle here will give you 3 pi divided by 4, right? And what will be this point? Here you can just add this one. So you can add 3 pi over 2 plus this one, which is the same thing as 6 pi over 2. Is going to give you 9 pi over 2 divided by 2 again. You're going to get 9 pi over what? Over 4, right? Okay, now what you can do is we can take the maximum point here, which is going to be 3, and the maximum point here is minimum is minus 3. And with the graph of cosine, we just need to start from the top, right? We just need to start from the top here, and we're back here. And then we go this, we go back here, and finally we are up somewhere here. So this will be our first graph. This is not the final graph. So which graph is this? This is just the graph of 3 cosine 2x over what? Over 3. So now let's deal with what? Let's deal with the absolute value first. So with the absolute value, it means that anything less than 0, anything below the x-axis, we just take it what? We just take it up, right? So we take it up. And how do we do that? We just transfer this one here like this. So it means that this will not be there, right? So we have to remove this one now. This one is still there. So this will be this one. Okay. Now this is the graph of what? This is the graph of with the absolute value. Okay. But now we have another minus here, which means that we should reflect everything across the what? Across the x-axis. So if you want to reflect across the x-axis, what does that mean? It means that we will have this part will reflect here. This one will come back again, right? And this part also will have to be reflected this way. So the green part is our final graph. So we can remove all of this one. So we can remove this one here. So this is our final graph, which is the graph of -3 absolute 3. No, the 3 is inside. So you have 3 cosine of 2x over 3. All right. So if you have any question, just put it in the comment section. I hope it is clear. Thank you for watching.